say reach one, teach one, and bring back our kids.
Firstly, no nation of Black Americans exists, family, nor is there a Black America in any legal documentation. Do you know what the word Black means in the eyes of the law? It means dead, which means, again, if you continue to identify as such, Black, African American, colored people, Negro, you will never truly experience what freedom is because the law does not recognize any of those terms. You're not even considered a true American citizen. In addition, we also must stop saying that in order to experience true freedom, we must return to Africa. Family, America is Morocco. We are free to move throughout our land as free will. Yes, this land. Stop saying that Blacks need reparations. Reparations means to repair a nation. The word Black is exactly why there has not been any. One must claim one's natural nationality in one's nation to be recognized. Listen, tonight's topic, again, Moor Love, featuring my co-host, Derek White. Why must we refrain from identifying as Black?
Well, for one, we have to understand what claiming to be Black is. Now, when we all learn third grade, fourth grade, that, when we come to, like the parts of speech, grammar, that pretty much colors are adjectives, they are modifiers, and nouns are person, people, places, and things. And it comes down to pretty much, it's just common grammar, an adjective cannot identify another noun. The only thing that can identify another noun is a noun. Correct. Is another noun. So just off that, basics, we're not Black. Then I mean, it's so funny because I was having this talk with my little sister the other day, and and we and I told her, I said for every time I give you a reason why we're not Black, that you're not Black, I said, give me $5. And yeah, and
I ain't take her money, but, for sure, right?
Yeah, I ain't take her money, but yeah, she would have been paying up. But it's just that. But to get away from that, you have to understand, okay, what does that do to you? All right. Now, when you look at a law perspective, right, in law, in order to receive any type of, and in order to have standing in law, you have to be, one, a natural person. For anything, you have to be a natural person. A natural person is not somebody that is not a noun identified as a color. Okay. Identifying as a color. A natural person is a human being with a nationality. So now, when you look at, if you look at it like the so-called African American is the only ethnic group in this world. I can't even say in the country, in the world, that identifies with a color.
Correct.
And we have to actually, and I also want to touch on the topic where, because, I've heard this, that we've got this, the name, even the name nigger and the name Negro and colors, like they all came from the slave, but I want to just draw people's attention to a federal case it was actually in Illinois, and the lawyer was actually Abraham Lincoln. This was before he became president.
Oh, really?
And this is actually, okay. Yeah, he was a constitutional lawyer.
Okay. What year was this?
I really can't even do the year, but I'm gonna give you the name of the case, and once you Google it, it's gonna come right up. Okay. The case is called is the William Dungy case, William Dungy. You might see it as referred to as Black Bill. And
Okay.
basically, what it has to do with is it was a dispute between William Dungy and another man. I forgot exactly what the dispute was over. But in in the dispute, the man ended up calling William Dungy Black Bill.
Okay.
Now, what William Dungy did was he went and he sued him
Hmm.
in court for calling him black
Oh wow.
and actually won in court with
Hmm.
Abraham Lincoln as his lawyer. You
Repeat
know, and this is
repeat the name of that case for the people and for myself.
it was the William Dungy case. The William
Got
Dungy case was tried in Illinois.
Okay.
Because that's where that was a I mean that this would be another topic for another thing, but Illinois is a very that's a very big part of this country. A lot back then. It's not really a history that you hear about, but it's a history that you got to really go deep and see, like about that whole middle section of the country,
Right.
or the land, as I should say. But yeah, but pretty much, that is what the people have to realize is like, where do we get from at one point if someone called us black, we would sue them. And it was a fight, like literally a fight. Like it was a problem if somebody called us black, to now we are proud, you know.
Right.
And it comes with the miseducation, and there's a lot of levels of miseducation. And
So
they were really smart at how they did it. The whole slavery thing, the whole our concepts where everything is really, really wrong,
it
you
sure
know.
is. Listen, it's no secret that our history has been compromised, confusing, and misleading in regards to the concepts of people, and more important, regarding the constitutional principles of government. So, this is why we had kind of no choice on saying to ourselves that, the word nigga and the word negro and the word black was terms that was given to us from the slave masters. Recently, I decided to research African American, and every article that I read led back to Reverend Jesse Jackson. So, for as long as I can remember, it was always taught to me and amongst a lot of my peers that we've all had one common enemy. But within this journey, I'm finding out that the enemy also looks just like us. You have these secret societies where our brothers and sisters that look just like us and know our truths, know our real stories, are being paid under the table to refrain from telling us certain things about who we truly are. But to get back on track with what you just said, if you truly ask anyone who is Black America, are people identified by colors? What is the national flag of Black Americans? And what religion do they claim? Listen, the answer to that is simple. There is none. Because for those who continue to identify as such, again, including Negro, Black, and colored folks, have no guarantees in this life. They're basically giving up their birthrights by not claiming their own nationality, and they're not protected by any form of government. This is why we continue to lose over and over and over again. And, our communities keep yelling racism. You know, in racism, that word right there does, racism does exist, but there's only one true race, the human race. The system has designed has put, let me rewind, the system has put in place to distract us with this whole black and white issue. And they have done a marvelous job at it. But go ahead, brother.
Even the other video that I showed you. I mean, this is kind of getting a little. It's not off topic, but it all is all.
It all ties in
Yeah,
eventually,
it all
right?
ties in. But the other video I showed you about the Louisiana Purchase,
Correct.
and when he was saying about Morocco and how they show like, okay, this is a map from 1904 that has a area of the land named Morocco, but the Morocco that they tell us is overseas was not created until April 7th, 1956. So it's like, okay, so what Morocco is this?
Right,
You
right.
know,
And they basically turned our cities into countries. But
yeah, and not countries, corporations, because
corporations.
these aren't countries. That's another thing we have to understand. And I tell people like the United States is not a country. The United States is a corporation
Correct.
operating on the land as a country.
Correct. Just like our names. Our names are not really us. We don't They own our names.
Well,
Shayna Jones is a corporation.
Shayna Jones. All right, you see, I was thinking this too, but it gets a little deeper. You see, depending on how they write Shayna Jones, it's a corporation. See, because now it goes now into grammar again. The
Okay.
Shayna Jones that is on your ID in all capital letters is a corporation. But that's not the same Shayna Jones that is written with a capital S, H, and lowercase letters, capital J, lowercase letters.
Interesting.
Those are that's the natural person. And that's what it is like, because and we might be skipping a little further, but when it comes down into the names, I mean, the reason why I don't know if people are familiar, but we're going to get into the whole Moor thing, and the natural name and the significance of the surname, but
Mm-hmm.
in all actuality, when you go into history and you see all the surnames are ours, because we were the ones that created these names. You can even actually look at the etymology of Jones and see what it is. Like, I even found I looked at I was telling my friend's last name is Latimer.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, let's look up the etymology of your name. And it turned out that his name meant someone that translates Latin.
Interesting. Well, I took that same approach. That's how I found that I'm a descendant of the Yamasee tribe, which is basically Native American Indians.
Yes.
So
Well, yeah,
I
more.
took I
But
took
yeah.
the Jones and I took the Cox, which is Cox, which is
Mm-hmm.
um a part of my family name too, and I tied it together and did some research. It took me about 3 years to piece things together, but
Mm-hmm.
that I took that exact the same approach. That's funny that you're speaking about that. I took my
Mm-hmm.
last name and basically that's how I found out who I was a descendant of. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, but that's how it happens. So it's like, and I mean, and a lot of these things, it stems from, like I said, the levels and levels of, miseducation. I mean, we're talking about from, we think rewriting history. I mean, they they changed the calendar.
Right. They
The
changed the
calendar
compass.
they
They
took
wiped
over
out our
500.
tribes.
No,
Right.
but I'm talking about, like, they took over 500 years off the calendar, you know,
Mm.
to whereas this isn't even really the year that we believe it to be. You know,
Mm.
I mean, the compass. I mean, you've seen the map. The way that they did the compass.
Right. North is really south.
Like,
West is really east.
yeah,
Right.
it's
It's a
yeah,
lot.
it's a lot.
It's a
It
lot.
is. It's a lot.
And this is why personally, and you've seen it too, we kind of get stuck sometimes when we have these conversations with our peers because we don't know all the answers. It's so much
Hmm.
And it's not that we're misinformed. It's just that they completely went out of their way to erase who we stand for, who we were as a people. They went out their way. When I tell you,
Mm-hmm.
brother, they went out their way. They went out
Oh yeah.
their way. And the more and more that I read and I and I educate myself about these things, the more enraged I get within. I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, you went out your way to erase the history of God's first creature, the original.
But what they what I don't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry, but what it is what they did is really they really didn't honestly is they didn't erase anything. What they
Mhm.
do is they put it in places where you see
They
they
switched it up.
already have the concept. They already have the concept that if you want to hide something from a nigga, put it in a book. They already have that concept.
Right.
So they're double backing on that concept as to, okay, if a nigga does decide to pick up a book, we ain't gonna put it in this book. We gonna put it in this book that they're doing switcher rules, and this is the reason why I stress a lot of people to get in tune with reading a lot, like reading the Constitution for one,
Right.
reading congressional records, and that's a
Right.
lot of that's some sources that I can actually give you guys too, about some actual congressional records, because what I stress is that you know what they are in control of the information. So of course we can't believe what they tell us, or we can't believe what we see them give other people, but what they tell each other, that's something different.
Right.
And that's what I like to look into, like the congressional records and stuff for, because you see a lot of crazy stuff in there. You see stuff when they're really talking about what's really going on, you
And
know.
those are
And
nothing but facts. Those are facts.
yeah, and this is
Those are
all public
legal
record. This is all
documents.
public
Right.
record. It's all
Right.
public record, and
Speaking of speaking of such is the document that you referred me to take a look at, where basically they gave the Moorish community, um what was it?
appreciation week. Yeah.
Correct.
Hmm.
1865, of course, the Moorish people emancipated from slavery. Um and it basically gave the Moorish Americans the free will to walk their territory.
What that was, that actually that was a more recent document.
Right.
But what it was that was quoting Noble Drew Ali's the Seven Circle Quran. Actually, that's what he was quoting when he basically broke it down to who we were, where we came from, and how we got to this land and everything. That's what all of that is. But pretty much, I want to explain that document. What that was that was a government proclamation, and and before I even tell you who put that out, that was actually one of 12.
Wow.
Because after that one came out, about 11 other ones came out in that same year, not too far after that, from
Okay.
all from different states. I mean, I can give you the states, I'll give it to you another time. I don't have them all with me right now, but yeah, 12, it's definitely, this is official. 12 states right now have a proclamation for Moorish American Appreciation Week.
Well, I believe the state of Georgia
One
does.
document.
It's a lot of
Yeah.
indigenous Aboriginal people who still have the land in
Hmm.
Georgia, particularly Temple, Georgia. They actually have temples after temple after temple. So
Yeah.
I'll have to do some more research in regards to that. But I'm pretty sure one of those states may be Georgia. But go
It
right
could be,
ahead.
yeah.
Hmm.
But all right, the initial one that and was actually came out in Illinois, of course.
Right.
that's why I keep mentioning Illinois. It's a very Illinois, and it's there's a reason why Illinois and particularly Chicago is in the condition that it is right now, because that's the condition they wanted to be in,
Right.
because that is a very, 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 very special place,
Mm.
very special place in this land, and they don't want us to know. So they keep it in chaos like that,
Right.
you
To
know.
distract us.
But
Right. Mm.
but the person that put that out I believe it was in 2012. His name was Rahm Emanuel, and who he was the chief of staff to Obama's administration. And
Interesting.
after, huh?
I said
Oh,
interesting. I know where you're going with this.
yeah, yeah. So what he did was, after the Obama administration, he after he left that I think he only did 4 years with him. After that, he left and he went to be the mayor of Chicago. I mean, the
Mm.
mayor of Illinois, and he put that, he put it out.
He put that on the
He put
map.
that documentation out. That was the first piece of legislation he put out
Mm.
immediately. And
Mm.
I believe it was I forgot how I seen it was another way that they broke it down, because pretty much, how can I break it down? Like a lot of the things that is going on, and this actually goes down into our history, where I said, it's not really a race, because what it is suppressed,
Mm-hmm.
because they have it, you know,
Right.
and it's
We just
like
got to
our
find out how to
history.
seek it.
And it's not even so much what it is also, we got to understand that we're dealing with people, we're dealing with like our history is like the elephant in the room, to where people, like, we're the only ones that don't know it. That's how it is, and it's really like that,
Right.
where people are raised around the world to know, like, how to identify if they find an American black person, and how to interact with this American black person. You don't say certain things to this American black person, because this American black person doesn't know the real world politics.
Right.
They still on white, black, Christian. They don't know what's the real deal. And that's just, that's really what it is.
For real. For
And
real.
the real deal is what we're
I
gonna come
think
into
so.
now.
I think a lot of us are aware more than ever nowadays, but I think it requires too much work for a lot of people. We see it all the time. As soon as the media puts something out, people post it and they run with it without doing
That's
any
it.
additional research. So
Mm-hmm.
for our particular history, and not their story, but our story, our true history, you have to really dig deep and the information is there, is no longer a hidden
Mm-hmm.
figure. But I personally think it requires too much time, too much energy for a lot of our people to look into it. They'll rather continue to go by what they think they should be called. Um,
I
and it's very unfortunate. And I personally also think that's why the people of color suffer so much, because we continue to identify um, as a people who we continue to fall under a category that the enemy provided us on. Yeah, and
as fuck, but what we have to do is we have to also understand why
right,
it was important for us to identify as this. And this is where it comes into our nationality.
right,
Now, the reason why it's so important for us to take on these labels, because that's really what they are. Negro, black, colored, African American, Indian, what else? Puerto Rican, Dominican. Listen, I'm keeping it real.
right,
All of these are corporations.
Fact.
All of these are corporations.
Fact.
Every last one of them. You can Google online and you can find the incorporation papers for every last one of those places I just named.
Hmm. Hmm. And you wonder why
These are
these
all
places
corporations.
continuously keep going through the most, they experience the most suffering. They they
Yeah,
experience the most disasters. Why? I was just having this conversation with my mother
they
earlier. I
experience.
said, think about it. She continuously kept
Yeah.
asking me, well, why haven't we heard of any cases in Puerto Rico about the COVID-19 like anywhere else? I said, well, they already got their destruction. I said
Mm-hmm.
they already did that with those massive amounts of earthquakes that hit continuously within minutes of each other, back to back
Mm-hmm.
for months. I said there's nothing left. I said
Mm-hmm.
their plan was to destroy the people. You understand what I'm
That's it.
saying? So they can,
That's the goal.
right, that's the goal. That's the goal. So when I explained it
Mm-hmm.
to her like that, she was like, you're absolutely right. It's hard for me to explain a lot of things to the elders because they think they have all the answers. Knowledge
Mm-hmm.
is limitless. um
But what you have to do is sometimes you gotta, because I used to try to go easy with people, and then I realized, I actually watching one of my fellow Moors on YouTube, brother Kametu Bay, and he was saying,
mhm,
sometimes you got to just shock the system and just give them the information, and you know what, life will happen, and it will click. It will click eventually. It
right.
might not be right then, but a year later they'll be like, you know what? Yeah, Shayna was always telling me that, and you know what? That's right.
Right.
That's right. It's something clicks because you know why? The answers are in our blood. We know all of this already.
Facts.
All the info is all in our blood. We know it. We just got to tap into it to, really start waking and, start reading stuff and stuff start clicking. And that's just, that's what it is, man. It's
Right.
like it gets, it's, I think that everybody, when you see what you're up against and then you realize what you have to do, there is no there's no other alternative than to study.
Right.
It's either you're going to study, or you're going to claim your nationality and then back the people that have studied so that we can get this whole shit together and do what we got to do.
Facts. So what
Because
does
there's no in between,
it sure ain't. It's
you
no
know.
in between, right? You
And still in claiming your nationality, you still got to have that basic of knowledge. You still got to know what the hell is going on here, because we, we're we are confronted with law every day, and we don't even realize it.
right.
We give them authority to injure us every day,
Right.
and we don't even realize it.
And I believe that stems from us identifying as the such. I I
It
strongly
does.
I strongly believe if we all proclaim our nationality, our true selves. Mhm.
They're using corporate policy on us instead of
Okay,
enforcing the Constitution.
gotcha.
We have to make them enforce the Constitution because they're the ones that sign oath to the Constitution.
Right,
Every police officer, every judge, every lawyer, everybody that works for anything state, which they all sign a constitutional bond. So they're bonded to the Constitution, and they have to uphold it.
right,
They have no choice. Everything that they put on us is all corporate policy. Is not law. Is policies, it's regulations, it's ordinances, it's codes. That's what none of it is law. It's not lawful.
mm-hmm.
It's legal, but
Right,
it's not lawful.
right.
And we have to understand that we have to get on the lawful side of things instead of the
First,
legal side of things.
first. That's the first thing that we
Yeah.
have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Read that
And
Constitution.
you
Right.
you can't do that unless you have your unless you claim your nationality.
Right. What does
So
claiming
claiming your
nationality
nationality.
mean to you?
Well, I'm gonna give you what it means. When you proclaim your nationality,
Mm-hmm.
you're basically putting on the public record that you are not incompetent. Because when you don't have a nationality, that's what it means. This is the reason why. This is the reason why they wanted us to claim Black Negro. When you claim something other than what you are or what your ancestors were, they, in the eyes of the law, you're incompetent.
Fact.
This is what the Dred Scott case was about. Okay, Dred Scott was a very smart man. He had all his paperwork together. He had all his everything in line. And the judge told him this. The judge said, everything is correct here, but the only thing that's missing is standing. You have no standing, meaning you don't have any nationality. You're
Mm-hmm.
coming to me as Dred Scott, an African American man, and you're telling me that you want to sue this guy because you're free and all this other. No. What's your nationality? You have no standing, so you can't use these rights because you don't have any.
Right. Right.
You're not a natural person.
Doesn't make it
This is
makes
what it.
sense.
This is what
Right.
it. This is what it means when you say I'm black. This is what it means when you say that it means that it means you're what the legal definition, the lawful definition is non-descendable.
Mm.
You have no rights, you have no claim to inheritance, and that is the most important part, the inheritance.
Correct.
Because what is the most important thing that aboriginals to this land will inherit? The
Land.
land.
Right.
And that's what everything is all about.
Right.
It's all about the land. Everything is about the land. It was never about it was never about money. It was never about it was never about none of that. They do all of these things just to confuse us and to take us away from the land. The stock market. It's all about the
It's
land.
all about the land.
It's all about the
It's
land because
funny.
the stock market is based on paper money. And what is the paper money based on? Nothing,
Nothing. It
because
has
it's
no
not backed
value.
by gold, you know, and yeah, I'm telling you, it's a lot, man.
It sure is. I was watching a couple of videos on YouTube where more than ever it's people are starting to proclaim their nationality, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously they're educated on the Constitution and their laws in its entirety. So what a
Mm-hmm.
couple of them are doing is, and of course it wasn't worded properly, but layman terms basically is they were going to different properties, um and they was just claiming the land, basically.
Oh yeah.
Right. So then when the law came, the so-called law came, they tried to
Mm-hmm.
charge these people with trespassing,
Uh-huh.
and things of this nature. And then once they started, breaking it down about, basically proclaiming who they are, and then this is their land. It's all about verbiage, and again, it's all about knowing your law, knowing the Constitution, just like you exactly
Yeah.
what you said. And they,
That's
I
the
mean, for
Constitution.
verbatim, these people were doing this, and it's starting to happen more and more and more. And it was a huge criticism on it.
Mm-hmm.
One of the journalists who was speaking about it, he called it buffoonery.
Yeah.
That these people are basically fraudulent. That the Moorish community has been in non-existence since the 18th century. And I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
bullshit. This is such bullshit. And if you were someone who are truly interested in finding who you are, you're going to continuously run into roadblocks because there's so much information out there that is not true, or the information
Mm-hmm.
that's out there is meant to
Deter.
right you're right to
Mm-hmm.
have us give up immediately. But
Yeah.
I'm gonna share those videos with you, and you're gonna be like, "What?" It's funny, but
Oh no, I know what you're talking about because I even seen one of them and they were saying how when the one of them it was a woman
uh
anchor and she had said the way she labeled it was unfair loophole.
right,
So basically, what she's saying was what he did was all lawful. It was all within the law, but it's just unfair.
right.
So they made this whole thing like, oh, it's unfair, like, oh, and I guess what they were doing was they were sending the cops there to constantly harass them, and the Moor actually eventually ended up leaving the property, but
Mm.
he was there for a while. They had a whole big series about it. I remember it was a couple of,
But-
but the whole fact of the matter is
right.
is that in all actuality, they don't own any land.
You
The
sure don't?
only the only people that can own the land is Moor or the Moors.
Right. Everybody else is
Because
trespassing.
it, what it is it's a level like it's basically it's titles of nobility, and that's what we have. We're nobles. We're the only ones that can hold titles in this land. Any type of titles. We're the only one that can create a real title. What they have are deeds and certificates of title.
Right. Right.
Now, what a certificate of title is, a certificate of title is just proof that there's a title in existence out there.
Doesn't necessarily mean you own it.
It doesn't mean you own it at all
Right.
because you don't have the title. It means that the certificate means that there's proof that there's a title out there, but you don't have the title. They don't have the title.
Right.
The only ones that can have the title is a Moor, because it would have to be an allodial title. And this is all in the Constitution. It
Interesting.
says it. It says it clear as day.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know,
So
it says it clear as day.
our recommendation for the people will be first start with the Constitution. Of course, finding
Mm-hmm.
who you are, finding what your nationality is, and then read the Constitution. We have more than enough
That's
time
it.
now. I believe.
Read the Constitution,
Right.
because your ancestors made that for you.
Right. Right.
They made it to protect you, because that's the main thing in there. If that's one of the arguments. I have a lot of people that are critics, and they say I'm in a secret society, I'm Illuminati, and all this other stuff, because all of my, I mean, I know I have a lot of things that I'm into, and I read a lot of different stuff.
Right.
But I told one of my things that I was saying was that particular clause, the nobility clause.
Mm-hmm.
Why would they even have that in the Constitution?
If it was such a bad thing.
If
Absolutely.
it was something that was against us.
Right. That's a fact.
They wouldn't even have anything about titles. They would have let them make their titles, and that's why we have to understand what the Constitution was. We have to understand where our place in this world and in this land really was, because we think that it was as slaves in the fields and stuff like that, and that's
No,
furthest from
that's not our
that is
history.
the
That's not where our history
furthest.
started. Not at all.
No,
Not at all.
we were
Kings and queens,
ruling this.
royalty.
Yes, and not even, and I'm not even just talking about back then. I'm even talking about as far as back as
Whew.
I say within the last 200 years.
Right.
We started this government. The first, they were nine. There was what 8 presidents before George Washington.
Right.
And what, 6 of them or more.
6 of them or more. Right. Have you
6 of them.
Have you ever noticed during President Obama's presidency, of course, when he would give his speeches, what flags were behind him?
Oh yeah, those flags are always there,
Right.
especially when they're doing. It's good to notice when they're doing like foreign policy.
Correct.
That Morris flag is
Always
always
there.
there.
Fact.
It has to be there
Right.
because you know why? Because the rest of the world knows the truth.
Right.
So that flag has to be there for them.
Right.
But then they have the Star Spangled Banner next to it, and that's for us. And that's the thing where we have to understand and we have to really get in tune to really what
What's
is
going
going on.
on? Right.
Even Obama said it. There's a speech where you can where he was in Egypt,
Okay.
and this is right after he signed the rights of indigenous people, which is actually very very that one that's another topic too.
Right. Well,
But
you can actually backtrack on that because I know you blasted me one day about that. I'm not a
yeah,
I'm not a fan of Obama. I personally think he did more harm to the black community. But see, now that we're digging deeper into that word black, the corporation behind it, I
hmm
completely understand now what exactly he was doing. But let the people know exactly what you're talking about when it comes, in regards to what Obama did, what he signed into legislation, excuse me.
well, the rights of indigenous people,
Right.
pretty much what it is it's international law that protects pretty much indigenous people and protects the rights. The main thing, or what I should say, the first couple of lines of the actual legislation,
Mhm.
it says every man, woman, and child has the right to their own name and nationality.
Okay.
So is already that right there was the bat signal right there that okay, it's time for y'all to wake up and to claim who y'all are because now you guys have the international forum to do so.
All right.
And what that was very big because you want me to tell you what? They were trying to get that sign
For
the
decades.
last yeah, for decades. They were trying to get that sign, I believe, since JFK. JFK wouldn't sign it. None of them would sign it.
Right. Right.
Even our brothers and sisters' favorite president, Bill
Oh,
Clinton.
please.
Nope,
Right.
he wouldn't sign it. You know, none of
Right.
them was trying to sign
I
it.
did read an
You
article that
know,
Robert Kennedy was trying to enforce that, and that was a part of his assassination. I did read that.
no. What Robert F. Kennedy was trying to do
Hmm.
was trying to reinstate the gold clause.
Okay.
He was trying to bring back gold
Mm.
and bring or not even just bring back gold. He was trying to bring back precious metals, which
Mm.
is the only real lawful money in this country, by the way,
Right.
according to the Constitution. Again, I'm sorry,
Hmm.
but shameless plug. But yeah, but yeah, that he was trying to reinstate that. So
Okay.
what that would have did was paper dollar out of here, petrodollar out of here. Nah, we got coin money back again, and it's backed by actual,
Interesting. Mm.
it is currency. They didn't want that, so nah, he was out of here.
Mm-mm.
And it wasn't, and honestly, see that this is the thing where we have to understand what is going on. We are watching, and this is why I try to stress people not to get too caught up into what's going on right now
Right.
and what they're seeing with Trump and everything like that. We're watching war, but the war is not really concerning us. But we're caught in the middle. Of course, we're getting the effects of it as
As always.
that's how war is. War always has casualties, so we're going to be the casualties of war. But what you have to realize is this: they're fighting each other, and that's what it is. They're all fighting Trump.
Right.
They don't, and it's Democrats and Republicans. Not, he has people in his own house. They're not even
That's
telling you about
against him.
the
Right.
the attempts that they already had, like they tried to take him out several times
Oh,
already.
I believe it.
Like this is what it is. It's what is happening is we're watching secret society factions fight over what belongs to us.
Right. So how do we get involved?
Well, the main thing you got to do is nationalize, proclaim your nationality.
Right. Right.
You know, if you really want to get into the law, you want to go into the whole reversion of a state and pretty much putting every federal agency on notice, including the IRS, which is not really is a federal agency, but it's an assigned because it's really a private corporation. But you know, put them all on notice. You can do that. I mean, there's several different ways to do it.
Right.
But
Well, you recently told me that I didn't have to go through the logistics, the paperwork per se. Just the knowledge part was enough. But
if you ever in court and you bring up and this is probably a big thing right here. Like, I don't know, if you ever in court and you bring up your jurisdiction, a challenge of jurisdiction, it don't matter what court you in and what kind of criminal, whatever, and you bring up a challenge of jurisdiction, they have to hear it, no matter where and no matter what point they're at in the trial, they have to hear that. And you proclaim for the record that you're national, a Moorish national,
right.
that means something. Now they are going to definitely try to come after you and
Right.
trip your head up to get you to mess up. So this is where I say studying, and this is where knowledge comes in.
Right.
Because it's not just enough. You proclaiming your nationality, that has done so much already.
Right.
Where there's a ripple effect in the world, in the universe, where that should have, like, it might not feel like it has no effect to you, but that has a big effect. Just one person proclaiming their nationality, but when you have the knowledge to stand on your square behind that, oh, now you're a dangerous person.
You're right.
I think one of the main layers of the miseducation was the ones that come from our own. And that's
Right.
the main way that they got to us. And that's the main way that they get to us to this day.
Right.
Mainly in reference to the Moorish temple. Well, not saying the Moorish temple like as a whole, but yeah, as a whole, I have to really say it. There's actually a lot of evidence that it has been infiltrated, and this is actually for decades. It has been infiltrated. So where you have a lot of the dysfunction in the temple, to where you have some temples are saying, "Oh, this is what we're doing," this, and then other temples are on it this way, But what it is that a lot of them are straying from the ways of Noble Drew Ali.
Right. You just took the words out of me. Right. Took the words out of my
mouth. And yeah, so that's really, it's cool because I've heard a lot of things. I've heard a lot of people, they say what Noble Drew Ali didn't teach government. He didn't teach about nationality.
That's good.
Noble Drew Ali didn't teach. There's a whole lot of different things or rumors that people say, and it's just not so. And it comes from a lot of it comes from people in high places that know this knowledge, and they lie to us purposely,
right,
for their benefit, and because they're paid, in their those 501c3s, those non-for-profit, where they get them kickbacks from
at the end of the
at
the end of the day, it's all about money.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's all about money, but like I said, we're also dealing with secret society. So a lot of these people, they sign oaths not to reveal this information.
Mm-mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm.
And that's how, and that's why I try to tell people, like, it's bigger. You have to look at it from every aspect of life.
Mhm.
Yeah, but pretty much what it it comes down to the Constitution, and our Constitution pretty much stating that treaties are pretty much law of the land.
Okay.
So now when you talk about the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, which is between the United States, the corporation, and, well, at that time, what is the 13 colonies, and how they're forming the United States corporation and Morocco.
Right.
So what that makes us is Moroccan. It makes everyone that falls under this. It makes everyone that falls under that umbrella Moroccan subjects,
Correct.
or subjects of Morocco.
Rocking. Right.
So, and then, I mean, that's kind of a little touchy subject, but that's really the outline of it that I wanted to touch on, and I want people to really just go and look at these documents. The
Okay.
Declaration of Independence, like, all of these documents are, like, you can't look at these documents as singular documents. All of these documents go together in the making and creation of what we now call the United States.
Interesting. Okay.
And you got to look at the timing of these documents.
Documents. Correct.
Look at the timing of how, the Declaration of Independence was in, what was it, 1777, 1778, 77, 77.
Right.
But then now you have the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, which was 1786,
Mm-hmm.
which is also the longest standing treaty in existence to this day.
History. Right.
Yeah, is that, what is it, 225 years to that. I think they just had the 225th year anniversary. Um
Okay. Okay.
and but that came out before the United States Constitution, which
Mm.
created this country.
Right. So that's what we
So
should be referring to more so.
exactly, but it's not so much we should be referring to. What it is
Mm-hmm.
what that does is it pretty much outlines the corporation, because that's what the Constitution is. The Constitution is mainly outlining the corporation and how they can, what they can and what they cannot do on this land.
Gotcha.
That's what the Constitution really is. So it is to protect us. When people say the Constitution isn't for us, in a way, it's not. The Constitution isn't for us, but what it is there to protect us. We
Okay.
are the ones that have to uphold the Constitution.
Right. The right way.
Yes, uphold
The right.
or make them uphold the Constitution, because they sign oaths to this Constitution.
Right.
So they're the ones they have to uphold. They're bound by it. They have to uphold it.
Right. Listen,
You
I'm gonna
know,
start carrying that with me when I drive, when I walk.
that's it.
I'm gonna put my Moor flag on my car just like I
That's it.
shot, and
And
that's
get it on
it.
tape. I'm telling you, get it on tape. You telling them you're a Moorish American national. Like, you declared it right there. You proclaimed your nationality. So right now, you already know that right now, this is a jurisdiction thing right now. You don't have the jurisdiction to talk to me right now. You
Right.
don't have the jurisdiction like this. You don't have jurisdiction right now. So even if you don't have to get. See that video of that we seen, that guy got kind
Right.
of
You
crazy.
don't have to get to that level. You don't
You
have
don't
to
have to
get
get to that level.
irate with it. Right. You can
If
be
they
very
don't,
cool, calm, and collected because
if
they don't
they're,
respect that. You giving them a reason to. to shoot or kill.
Exactly, exactly. So you don't want to do that. You want to just, give them, and even if you want to ask for a supervisor, you know, ask for them to, call a supervisor, because when they call a supervisor now it's getting to, now the supervisor's gonna definitely know, and he's gonna know how to handle the situation, or he
Right.
should know how to handle the situation. And you can't be too sure,
A lot of
either way.
them, but listen, I listen, all of them know
But
exactly what they're doing. Okay.
yeah, they
They know
do.
exactly what they are very knowledgeable about the laws and everything. It's us for the most part that are
Yeah.
not knowledgeable about a lot of things, and we act on a lot of things the wrong way.
Yes.
Um, like this is why it's necessary for us to understand these things and to have these type of conversations because we've been doing it wrong for a long
Oh
time.
yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's very disheartening. Like I said previous in the previous conversation, I used to be out there with, I'm black and I'm proud
Hmm.
and I'm African American and and I thought I was just doing it so right.
Yeah.
So right. But a part of living should be growing.
That's right.
Okay. If you stick in the same position, the same mindset within your whole lifespan, you're not growing and you're not truly living and you're never gonna have true freedom. And so I mean, I'm glad that we all come this
That's
far.
right.
But I wanted to touch base with you on something else because during our last conversation, you mentioned it a couple of times, the importance of Illinois.
Mm.
So it's the excitement. Y'all hear that? The excitement.
Yeah, yeah.
So if you can just share a couple of things about why is Illinois so important. I know why, but I want you to share, to drop things on me.
Well, Illinois is very important. One of the reasons
Take your
one
time.
one of the reasons Illinois is very important is Illinois is Illinois is has a lot. It has a number of what they call mounds, but what the world would know as pyramids. But they don't want to admit that they're pyramids because that would be admitting to a whole lot of different things. But I think that's pretty much one of the main things that I could say that makes Illinois very, very important. And then when you get into the history of who built these things, and then
Right.
when you look at things like in Illinois, they have the city Cairo, and then we all know of the Cairo in Egypt. So now people will probably think like, okay, well, they probably copied that Cairo in Illinois from the Cairo in Egypt, where it's definitely vice versa. You know,
Right.
but
Facts. We spoke about that too, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that's just really what it is. And it's yeah, it's a lot of things that they hid from us. You know, it's is a reason why they're called when you get into location and geography, we got to also understand
Mm-hmm.
to how our ancestors mapped everything out to where it wasn't even it wasn't even names to what they used to call it. Like they mapped everything based from the sky. It would be pretty much referred to as the whole American continent. And then when I say the American continent, it's because there's no North, South, or Central America. It's all connected. There's no place where it separates. Um, so that this whole continent, which is Morocco, would also be geographically called the North Gate. And the way they did it is based on see, I don't have everything together right now, but I'm just doing it off memory. But it's based off of, I forgot which star. I want to say the star that they call Sirius, but yeah, it's based on alignment, and this is another reason why how they line everything. Why they call uh like we see why they call like Chicago and all that Illinois and St. Louis, that whole area, the Midwest, and then why they call Iran and everything over there the Mid East. That's how they mapped it out. This is how these things were created. Like it's all, it's all astrology and it's all calculated like math. Because that's what our ancestors were. They were, mathematicians and
They were
yeah, pretty
geniuses.
much. So that's what everything was made out of. So a lot of the city,
We still trying to find out to this day how they operated and how they did a lot of things to this
yeah,
very
a
day.
lot of the cities a lot of the cities and everything that we look at nowadays, we look at to this day, they, as ancient, are ancient, but we don't understand to why they were actually set up, and they were set up based on astrology. Because even if you look at
Right,
Washington D.C., Washington D.C. is set up based on astrology.
right.
So those are
Hmm.
things that we also have to get into. And I just tell people just to study, just study all sciences when it comes to every science, math, biology, everything, astrology. Don't be, people get superstitious and the devil, and no, listen, knowledge is power. That's what it
No,
is. It's all,
right.
everything is out there for us to study and us to learn,
And right.
and that's what
And to better ourselves and have true understanding of ourselves.
that is
Absolutely.
correct.
I do thank you again for joining
One love.
the pod tonight. I
Stay
do
positive.
appreciate it.
Yes.
This was this was a
Bring back
great
our
topic, a
kids.
great discussion.
Yes. Always a
Say
pleasure.
each one
Always a
teach
pleasure.
one.